The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to West Berkshire again, folks, and to wrap up the run this week, we're in a village which is well known to one of our former Prime Ministers. A certain David Cameron grew up in this place. Its name is Peasemore. Peasemore, Pea Pond. We conclude this run through West Berkshire this week with a parish you might have heard of. Until our current Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer was elected in 2024, we were under a Conservative government here in the UK for the previous 14 years. It was a period of Tory dominance that started with a coalition, a joint effort between two political parties. They were the Tories and the Liberal Democrats, and leading the way was one David Cameron. The man in question will know this village quite well. He grew up here in Peasemore, living at the old rectory on the village's southern fringe, and what a great place this must have been to have spent his childhood. Peasemore is a small community with a typical clustered centre. Again, it's to the west of the A34, and a selection of footpaths lead across its surrounding fields and lanes into the Berkshire Downs, which surround it on all sides. It's no wonder that it's won Best Kept Village awards in the past. As well as Cameron's house, Peasemore has a lot more to talk about. Top of the bill would be its cricket club, whose ground is among the best facilities the sport can boast in Berkshire. Peasemore also has a village hall and the Church of St Barnabas, one of the many designed by the architect G.E. Street. It also had a school at one time, and that gives us an opportunity to mention another well-known former resident, Miss Reed, who was once the headmistress. Anchoring it all is the fabulous Fox Inn, located next to the cricket ground. So come with me and let's learn a bit more about the childhood home of one of our former Prime Ministers. We begin today's wander at the Fox Inn. This is Peasemore's only public house, and since 2013 it's been run by Phil and Lauren Davison. Together, they've breathed life back into this fantastic village pub. Before taking over the Fox, the pair owned the Sun in the Wood at Ashmore Green for 16 years, building a strong local reputation which followed them to Peasemore. The Fox in 2013 was an extremely run-down building, but through their hard work and brilliant local relationships, they were able to restore it into a great village pub. Now it's flourished into a true hub of the community, and it's become very popular. Having run restaurants and pubs for over 30 years, Phil and Lauren have been honoured with several industry awards. They were recently proud to be recognised as a Great British Pub Awards pub hero for their unwavering support of the local community during the COVID lockdown. Beautiful English pub is the Fox, and right across the road from it you have something else that's quintessentially English, a cricket pitch. Peasemore is a very welcoming village, and if you're not visiting it for the local pub, you might want to if you're a cricket fan. Next to the Fox is the cricket ground, and this is easily one of the best in Berkshire. Simply known as the Village Green, cricket has been played here every summer for well over 60 years, but the sport has been played in Peasemore for something like 150 in total. Despite that fact, Peasemore Village Cricket Club have been through some hard times. In 2017, there were genuine fears that that was to be the club's last active year because it was often impossible to put a team together. That's PVCC's biggest problem even now, finding sufficient people who are ready and willing to play either on a regular or occasional basis. Peasemore is famous for its cricket tees, by the way. In 1978, Peasemore won Berkshire's Best Kept Village competition. A short walk around the place should be enough evidence for the validity of that award. There are a number of gorgeous old thatched properties, and 11 of them are listed buildings. The first reference to what became Peasemore was in 951 AD in King Edward's Charter, when its boundaries were defined. Back then it was described as part of Chieveley Parish. The village was first recorded in the Domesday Book as Praxmere, and again in 1166 as Peasemere. The name of the village literally means pond by which peas grow, although where that pond is or was is not known. Peasemore was first recorded on a map in 1761 and again in 1768. The road network hasn't changed much since those times. Okay, so we're about to hit the main road through the place, which will take us down to all the major landmarks, such as the church and the rectory. Those two are very important to Peasemore. Also, the village hall is on the main street too. Just before we do, though, we've got a parish notice board here, so let's leave a card by slotting it underneath. There we go. That's one for the locals to have a look at later. It's on the end of Palmer Close. Right, main street time. In 1736, a great fire broke out in Peasemore when the whole of the centre of the village, including barns and ricks, were destroyed. It started in the area of this house, simply known as Drake's. It was declared a national disaster, with over £1,500 worth of damage done. Now, Drake's has a bit more to speak of. You see, it's clearly a house today, but that's not what it always was. This used to be a school, and not just any school either. As far can be ascertained, Drake's was the first school to Peasemore's name. It must have been pretty small, because as you can see, this isn't a whopping great building. It was eventually replaced by a national school in 1850, which lasted around 100 years, closing in the 1950s. Now, as far as education goes, that would ordinarily be that in some villages, but here you can't mention schools without the name Miss Reed. Miss Reed was the pen name for Dora Jessie Saint, an English novelist who by profession was a schoolmistress. Her pseudonym was derived from her mother's maiden name. Reed is best known for two series of novels set in the English countryside, the Fairacre novels and the Thrush Green novels. Born in 1913 in London, Reed was the younger of the daughters of Arthur Schaff, an insurance agent, and his wife Grace. When her father became a schoolmaster, Reed followed his example and undertook teacher training at Homerton College, Cambridge. After World War II, Reed worked occasionally as a teacher and began writing about schools and country topics for several magazines, including Punch and the Times Educational Supplement. Another job saw her work as a scriptwriter for the BBC School Service. Her first Fairacre novel appeared in 1955 and the last did so in 1996. The first Thrush Green novel appeared in 1959. The principal character in the Fairacre books was Miss Reed, an unmarried schoolteacher in a small village school similar to the one that would have been in Peasemore at that time. Many of the novels were illustrated by John Strickland Goodall, an artist and picture book author in his own right. In total, Reed wrote 28 novels, 2 autobiographies and 14 other books. Her biggest influence was Jane Austen, and her work also bears some similarities to the social comedies of manners written in the 1920s and 1930s, and to the work of Barbara Pym. Miss Reed's work has in turn influenced a number of writers, including the American Jan Karon. The Irish musician Enya has a track on her Watermark album named after her book, Miss Clare Remembers, and one on her Shepherd Moons album titled No Holly for Miss Quinn. So what does all this have to do with Peasemore? Well, for a short time, Miss Reed was the schoolmistress in this village. Some of the older residents here may even remember her. Okay, so you rejoin me with the village hall behind me right there. Let's check this out next. Here we have the village hall. This was built in 1900, replacing earlier social gathering spaces that were informal affairs in some of the local thatched cottages. They were held in reading rooms mainly, and a single-storey thatched cottage on the site of a house today called Las Vegas. Now, aside from the date of construction, Peasemore Village Hall doesn't have a lot of history to speak of. It's basically the same as it's been since it was built 125 years ago, and it continues to serve the village well. Now we have a walk down to the southern end of the village, so let's chuck in a few more facts as we go. You'll have noticed by now that Peasemore lacks anything in the way of retail facilities. There's no shop here. The nearest one is in Chieveley, which also hosts the majority of Peasemore's weekday church events. Peasemore also has no post office. It used to have one in Haley Lane, but it closed in around 1980 and was converted to a private residence. For shops, post offices and schools, Chieveley is your go-to place around here. There are also no chapels, but again, there used to be. In 1809, the first primitive Methodist chapel was built near the site of what is now Walnut Tree Cottage. This was replaced in 1831 by Ebenezer at West View, and a third chapel was erected in 1923 on the site of what is now Furlongs. All three chapels in succession have been demolished, but their once existence reflects the strong Methodist community on the Downlands in the 19th century. They continued to hold regular open-air camp meetings and services well into the 20th century on what is known as Mell Green. Okay, we've reached a point now where the road just runs off into the countryside to the south. Now, if you were to travel down here, which we will do later in the car to finish this episode off, you'll see there's some big grand houses down there, which are all set back from the road. Can't really see anything of them, so not really much point walking down there. I'll tell you one thing that is worth seeing though. It's on this corner, and that would be the Church of St Barnabas. Now, it's not just the church that's interesting here, it's also its rectory, and you'll see why in a moment. Dedicated to St Barnabas, this is a Grade 2 listed building that was designed by a man we know very well, G.E. Street. Peasemore has been occupied for at least 5,000 years, so this is by no means the first religious building the place has ever possessed. Christianity was established here during Saxon times and was probably centred around a building on the site of this, the present Victorian Gothic structure. Between 1078 and 1097, Richard of Peasemore built a chapel and cemetery here, and that became the parish church in 1104. It was rebuilt in the Victorian style in 1842 using rubble from the Norman church. The rubble was also reused as road foundations throughout the village, so without actually knowing it, we've been walking on the old church throughout this video. The old rectory can be seen from the churchyard. It's a nice building, but we're not here just to talk about the house. It was in this very property where a former Prime Minister grew up. The politician in question was the leader of the Conservative Party at the time of the general election in 2010. Due to a hung parliament, he became PM after joining forces with the Liberal Democrats. His name was David Cameron. Cameron was born in 1966 at the London Clinic in Marylebone, but was raised here in Peasemore. He's the younger son of Ian Cameron, a stockbroker, and his wife Mary Fleur, a retired Justice of the Peace and the daughter of Sir William Mount, 2nd Baronet. He's also a descendant of William IV through one of the King's illegitimate children. Whilst living in Berkshire, he was educated at 2 private schools. From the age of 7, he was taught at Heatherdown School in Winkfield. At the age of 13, he went on to Eton College, following his father and elder brother. After leaving Eton in 1984, he worked as a researcher for his godfather Tim Rathbone, who at the time was the Conservative MP for Lewes, and he attended several debates in the House of Commons. Through his father, he was then employed in Hong Kong by Jardine Matheson as a ship jumper. In 1985, Cameron began his Bachelor of Arts course in Philosophy, Politics and Economics at Brasenose College, Oxford. His tutor, Vernon Bogdana, described him as one of the ablest students he'd ever taught, with moderate and sensible conservative political views. Indeed, Cameron identifies as a one-nation conservative and has been associated with both economically liberal and socially liberal policies. It would take until 2001 for him to get elected as an MP. He was the MP for Witney from 2001 to 2016. In 2005, he became leader of the Conservative Party, succeeding Michael Howard, and he became Prime Minister almost by default at the 2010 general election. The election that year resulted in a hung parliament, meaning no party had an overall majority. The Conservatives, though, did have the most elected MPs. They therefore joined forces with the Liberal Democrats, with their leader Nick Clegg becoming Deputy Prime Minister under Cameron. Cameron's premiership would last until 2015, as he led the first coalition government in the UK since 1945. He resigned after a referendum that supported the country's leaving of the European Union, which we all know by now as the infamous Brexit. His successor was Theresa May, herself a Conservative MP for a Berkshire constituency, Maidenhead. Okay, so the last thing to do here is to follow a footpath which runs from the church in sort of a diagonal fashion and emerges just in front of the Fox pub, and that will be the circuit of Peasemore. Beautiful village, and I can see why David Cameron would have liked to grow up here. I tell you what, it's got nothing to do with politics, but why is it that politicians always end up in the nicest places? It's not fair, is it? And folks, we are done with Peasemore, and with it, this first run in West Berkshire. What a great little batch of villages this has been. There are still 58 more to go out here, and if they're all like these, this will be a fantastic series. This weekend, we're heading back to Leicestershire again before we start Hampshire next week. Join me in Winchester on Monday for more in the south of England. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.